Yo, peace. Introduction to the Occult. 666, the bitch frequency. Let's get it. When we look at today's times, we can clearly see that it's dominated by masculine energy. Whether we're talking about the arts, religion, politics, history, or the government, it is mainly dominated by men. My only question is, where the bitch is at? Where the witch is at? When we think about the number 666, it's associated with negative energy, the devil, the antichrist, mark of the beast, the apocalypse, and the end of the world. When we take it in numerology, the number 6 represents the planet Venus. The planet Venus represents the Empress in the tarot, which is a material form of feminine energy. So we see that feminine energy and negative energy are one and the same, and they're associated with the women, which is why she is called evil, the devil, or a demon. Let's take it a step further. As we walk through history, we can see that there was a change from pagan worship to monotheistic worship, which is worship of the woman or feminine energy, to worship of the man or masculine energy. Back in the day, women would pattern themselves after feminine deities such as Isis, Het-Heru, or Hathor, which represent the great mother, and strive to be oracles and high priestesses, which will give them the ability to predict the future as well as having influence over the material realm. In secret orders, women would drink their own menstrual blood to reach higher levels of consciousness, which will put them in a dream-like state, giving them power over the elements so that they can influence physical reality. So due to jealousy, envy, and hate, the man cut the woman out of the picture and suppressed her because of her pussy power. Let's take it a step further. Seduction and deception is a feminine trait. If you want to influence a man, you go through his woman. For example, a pastor may not be able to convince a man to come to church, but if he is able to influence that woman to come to church, that woman will use the power of seduction and deception to get that man to come to church, although he know damn well that's not what he want to do. Because if she gives her heart to the church, she will go to the man, put him under the spell of seduction, which opens him up to deception, and thus he will allow himself to be deceived, and his ass will be in church like everybody else. If we take it back to the Adam and Eve story, we see the same thing happening. Adam had the word of God. He knew damn well that he wasn't supposed to eat the apple, but because Eve seduced him, he opened himself up to seduction and allowed himself to be put under that spell, that pussy power. He opened himself up to deception, and thus he was deceived. And that's why when God showed up, the first thing they did was hide, because he already knew he was in the wrong, and thus they were cast out of the garden and fell to the earth. Now this is all metaphor, because it's telling you that the word of God wasn't even powerful enough to stop Adam from being deceived. And people say, well, maybe God was the devil. See, we can talk about variations of the story, but just sticking to this point, the word of God, or you can say since God was another man, was not more powerful than a woman, because if the word of God was more powerful than a woman, he wouldn't have been able to be deceived. But because the woman is more powerful, there was nothing he can do. Because the serpent already got into her mind, it was only a matter of time before they fell. There's a saying in Islam that goes, heaven lies at the feet of your mother. The mother doesn't always mean your physical mother. It can also represent the woman. A woman has the power to make a man's life a living heaven or hell. There's also the saying that goes, all is fear and love and war. This means in a woman's mind, she feels justified in using seduction and deception if it's for the greater good. Going back to the example of the church woman, she feels it's for the greater good that her partner gives his life to God, even if it means she has to deceive or seduce him in order for him to go. She knows that he doesn't want to go to church and she can't force him, but she knows she may be able to convince him to try it if she can make it sound good enough. So after she puts the pussy on him and they pillow talk, he will be open to the spell of seduction because he trusts his woman after all, so his ass will eventually give in at some point. On the flip side, if he's already in the church and she's anti-church, she will use the same tactics to get him to leave the church. If the subtle way doesn't work, she can use a more extreme method, such as starting arguments, making excuses not to have sex, talk about other men or how good the pastor or leader speaks, to attempt to make him feel insecure, so he would show up just to see if there's any threats around that may get in the way of his relationship. So because heaven rests at her feet, in order to maintain peace, a deal is made and the woman will get her way. This is why a woman can make or break a man. She can make him feel like a god by making their home into a palace, or a devil by making their home into a hell. If the man and woman becomes enemies, she can destroy his empire, which will lead leave him in an even worse position than he was before they met. Not only would he lose his woman, but also the kids if they have any, and half of his legacy due to the legal system in place. On the flip side, if they stay together, she would raise the kids to be god and goddesses, and they build a legacy together that can last for generations to come as she raised her frequency to the level of an oracle. At this point, the only thing that will get in the way of this union is another woman. This woman is called the mistress. Let's go deeper. It is well known that women don't trust other women around their partners, especially a mistress. A mistress has mastered the art of seduction and appeals to men because of her darker vibe and secrecy. There have been mistresses that brought even the strongest men to their knees for their own gain and pleasure. A mistress worked in the underworld flawlessly and are considered no good by most women. Whatever the average woman says no to, a mistress is willing to say yes. There's an air of mystery and danger that you can notice from across a room in their aura. You can say that they are appealing for all the wrong reasons, yet in the right circumstance they can get into places others can't with ease. Oracles can be bitches, but a mistress fit the definition of a witch in every sense of the word. They are hated by men and women because of this, which is why they normally operate in the dark or in disguise. A mistress can also be considered a high priestess due to their skills in tantra, seduction, and deception. A mistress is drawn to men in the underworld or men in a high position of power. A mistress tend to have a checkered past, and if their power is abused, they can also destroy the men they deal with. The mistress is a perfect woman for men in the fast life, as they can partner up with them and live a life only dreamed of by an average woman if their power is balanced by the man they deal with. So whether a woman is rising to the level of an oracle or high priestess, because of their potential power, they will at some point run into those who will attempt to oppress them. It is important not to get caught up in these frequencies, as they will only slow you down. Only a person of true understanding will be able to accept the identity of a woman who is seeking to manipulate reality in ways beyond the power of men alone, as a man cannot reach his full potential without the proper partner. There are many variations of oracles and high priestesses not mentioned at this present time, as this is only an introduction. However, as we dig deep, we will explore those in greater detail in time. Bitch and witch in today's terms are often used to disrespect women, but in the truest sense of the words, they indeed honor the spiritual woman who is on her way to mastery. Some may disagree, but those of true understanding will see beyond the words. Clarity is reserved for those who practice what they preach, and as we explore the darker realms of the occult, true light will be found in places unknown to most. So may the worship of the Great Mother lead to eternal darkness. Peace. 666 shit.